60 seconds or something.
Yeah. So first and foremost, I'm a dad of 3 girls, got triplets, 14 years old. So they're my drive for everything, you know, and I run a security company, 2 of them now actually, and a nonprofit that has to do with security also. So stay busy on the security piece with work, and then stay busy at home with my girls and my wife here in Eastern North Carolina. So.
And now North Carolina, how is that Eastern, you said, right?
Yeah, so I live on the coast. Southern Outer Banks is really what it's called. So if you know where the Outer Banks is, all the way on the East Coast, North Carolina, just in the south tip of that,
Sure.
that's where I'm at. So
very cool. I am flying to Charlotte on Friday night, and then I will be. If anybody's going to be in Gastonia, North Carolina, that's Southern North Carolina. There's a really bitchin' cigar and scotch bar there, and I can't remember. It's right downtown. I'll be there with Alex and Frank Stewart from Premier Body Armor, good friends of mine.
Yeah, good stuff.
Great guys. And whenever I go out there, we get together. Frank's got a locker there full of cigars, so we get together, we hang out, we have a really good time. They're good guys. They're actually going to be one of my first sponsors of the new podcast, so I'm pretty excited about that. So, Joe, a couple things I want to talk about. One industry, one personal. Let's talk about industry first. What's going on with Joe? I know you've got a lot of things. You've been working for your dad for a long time. We'll get into that later. But you and Christian West have just started up a new company, ESL, and kind of quickly tell us the evolution of that. How did it come about, and what's happening with you guys?
Yeah. So with LaSorsa and Associates, we've done mostly boutique style work. You know, my dad and I want to say we work for various clients, but it's mostly small. It's not like the large, big business that's out there of, you know, working for a larger corporation, that kind of thing. I wanted to get something going so that kind of follows a different business model. So it gets into working with the clients that we don't know or already work with. And so I started ESL, Executive Support and Logistics. And then I've been a longtime friend of Christian West and admire him very much. And so when we got talking about it, he said, well, that's a great idea. And so kind of brought him along, and now he's working with me with that. And it's been an awesome thing so far. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Like, you know, if we have something like a big client that kind of goes through the ESL side, if we have something that's more, you know, boutique and works more on the you know, smaller spectrum of the line, and training, of course, that's a big thing that we do at LaSorsa. It stays over there. So that's kind of how it all fell into place. And just Christian and I, we've always kind of been eye to eye in a lot of things on, you know, EP and then personal interest as well. So we just get along well and work together even better. So
yeah, I can see that being a good match. I mean, between your brains and his striking good looks, I just can't see how it could possibly go wrong, you know.
That huge head of his.
Well, that's cool. So so you guys are going, you've got a new venture, you're going to go big, probably like AS did before Christian sold that. That's a different business model than what you and your father have had. And your dad, you know, your dad started the company after 20 years in the Secret Service. He started the company like 97, right? A long time ago.
Yeah. So he did Secret Service 76 to 96. When he got out of there, he took, as most of them do, a corporate security directorship, you know, a big global corporation, and then realized that they were vending a lot of these services to smaller companies. So when he decided to, you know, kind of do his own thing, he said, he left that position, started up LaSorsa and Associates in 1998. So, you know, it's been around for quite a while now. And that just kind of took off from there. So it started off as a EP and private investigation business for most of the, you know, high-end clients in South Florida is where he started, Fort Lauderdale. Sure. And it just grew from there.
Yeah. Now this is a place where you and I parallel almost our whole lives. The one thing that there's one difference, but like you started working for your dad when you were in high school, correct?
I did. So yeah, I started when, you know, my dad started the business, like I said, in 98. I was in middle school then. And then after a few years of getting the business up and going, I was in high school. So I was working with him, you know, just clerically doing, you know, invoicing and stuff like that. And then in Florida, you can get licensed at 18. So when I was just about to turn 18, I submitted my paperwork early and got into that there. So sorry, I'm just getting some backfeed here from my phone.
That's actually the phone. Oh, your side. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. So so we got started with that when I was 18. I got licensed and I started working with him pretty much full time through college. And after college, got into the Marine Corps. I was an infantry officer, 4 years.
Yeah.
And I know your son was too. I see him back there. So
That's my, yeah, that's my boy right there.
Yeah.
Also, also 0311, but Marine Security Forces attached to the White House, and he also traveled with 2 presidents and a vice president all over the world. The kid, nice. I mean, he was running around with a machine gun under his suit coat at 21 years old. Has more formal, probably more formal EP training than I've got my whole entire career, because that's all he did for a year straight after boot. So, nice. But that's cool. Well, I respect that. I appreciate your service, and then you came back and worked for your dad as well. After the Marine Corps.
Yeah. So after the Marine Corps, just kind of jumped right back into this. I had the 3 girls while I was in the Marine Corps, so that kind of led me to have to do something, right? So after the Marine Corps, jumped right back into this and started running things. Like I said, I worked it through high school and college, and then when I got out of the Marine Corps, it was time to kind of take a step up. So I worked my way back up. I didn't just come in as a manager or anything like that, but I worked my way back up and grew the business to where we are now with LaSorsa and Associates. It was always very small, mostly my dad doing pretty much everything. And when I got involved, we grew it from there. I mean, we grew over 60 times, 65 times, if I do the math right, from where we were when I started in 2012. I got out of the Marine Corps 2011. So 2011 to now, it's about 65 times the size of when we started. So
that's great. Well, that's definitely a success story. Now, where we parallel so strongly is, my dad started our company before I was born in 1967 is when he started the company, not when I was born. And then I grew up in it. And when I was in high school, when I turned 16 and had a driver's license, he had me out there doing little piddly stuff here and there, some basic surveillances and activity checks and so forth. And so we literally grew up working for our fathers. Now, I know how my experience was working with my dad. How was yours? You and your dad get along real well? Was there any strife or butting heads, or were you guys just super compatible as business partners?
Very compatible as far as business partners. Just in the little operational things, we've always kind of had our differences, which actually kind of made it work, if that makes sense. It's like I wanted to do things that he didn't want to do. I wanted to build a website way back when he started, and he didn't want to. He didn't. I don't need a website. And so, built the website, did the advertising and networking and those kinds of things that he didn't want to do. We butted heads about, that kind of stuff. Right. He's very old school, still is. I was talking to him the other day and he says, he mentioned somebody and he's like, give him a call. I'm like, nah, send him a text, so, just those kinds of things. But overall, we get together really well, and the differences have made us, grow into, where we are now. So,
that's awesome. I unfortunately mine wasn't quite that smooth with my dad, because we're 2 very, very similar. Well, we were. He passed in 1997, about the time your dad started your company, but he was a very domineering, very powerful, somewhat of a control freak, and an absolute dinosaur. He said, if you put a computer on my desk, I will throw it out the window. And I believe he would have done that. His filing system was, literally Post-it notes. He had Post-it notes everywhere, and an index, a card index Rolodex that it was just as archaic as it gets, but it worked for him, and that's good. And you've done a great job taking. And the interesting thing is, there's no competition between you and your father's company and you and Christian's company, because they're different business models. One, LaSorsa and Associate does a lot of training. Like you guys do TSCM, you do everything. What's the quick menu of the training you guys provide?
Yeah, basically everything that revolves around EP. So we do EP, which includes the actual EP itself, medical, driving, defensive tactics, shooting. Then we do TSCM, which goes along with EP, but we also have that as a dedicated service. We do investigations and protective intelligence, and we do security consulting. So those are all the things that kind of wrap up the services that we do with LaSorsa and Associates. We also have the nonprofit section of LaSorsa and Associates is security consulting for churches and houses of worship. So that's kind of when we teach that. That's a great way to get guys some experiences to put them under Project Guardian is what it's called, and get them some practice going out to a church or a school, and they can do some consulting for them on a volunteer basis and get that experience. So that's pretty much everything that we do for training under LaSorsa. And as you can imagine, that only helps like on the larger side of like ESL, where we need a lot of training for
Yeah.
guys to get to
Yeah.
work. So
well, the cool thing is ESL can pay LaSorsa and Associates to train their agents. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand,
it's a win-win, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and I know, I'm sure you're having fun working with Christian as one of my very,
Yeah.
very, very closest friends. I know what a hoot he can be, but I also know how incredibly, I don't want to say intense, but determined and focused businessman he is. I mean, the guy is up at 6 a.m. every morning. Here I am, on my way to the gym at 6 a.m. and he's already working, so
funny you say that. So we had a call 9 a.m. my time this morning. We had a call with the client. So 9 a.m. my time, he's on it. I didn't expect him to hop on, and here he goes. He hops on at 6 a.m. his time on a conference call with the client. So
yeah. Well,
no,
you guys, between the two of you, I don't see anybody as like any of the people like you guys that I respect and appreciate. I don't see as competition. I see as partners doing the same thing for the same cause, making money from different people. And I'm all good with that. And sometimes we'll go back and forth and give each other business, which is awesome.
Yeah. So anybody that's really at kind of this level, they know that there's more work than one person can have. I mean, it's best to work with each other than try to, be a squirrel, keeping all your nuts in your basket kind of thing. I mean, collaboration's where it's at.
And let's face it, I've always believed we're only as good as our network. Now, we may have resources in, BFG, Seattle or North Dakota or something where you don't, and you're like, hey, Mike, do you have resources? So we work together and everyone makes money and the client gets the best results and the best product and vice versa. So I love the idea of working together. And of course, I love working with two guys that I respect and appreciate. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit to talk about something, because we're business mode all day, every day. Let's switch gears to talk about something that we both enjoy and love. And you've actually made a business out of it, which was super cool. You're like the serial entrepreneur, which I love, I respect. But we're both car guys. And specifically, it sounds like now you've got the older hot rods. I had a 1970 Super Sport Camaro that I rebuilt and sold. Nice. That was my only old car, but I have been a Corvette guy for many years, and you too are a Corvette guy. Tell me about your car love, passion, obsession, and business.
Yeah, so cars have always been a thing. I mean, like since I was a little kid, just always been into cars. My dad's always been into cars. That kind of got me into it. Old cars, particularly for me. I've always liked, the late 60s cars. That's my favorite years. 67 Mustang, 69 Chevelle. That's my favorite car. That's my car is a Yenko tribute, so it's awesome. It's actually got a 454 in it, about 600 horsepower.
Monster
motor.
Awesome. It's monster.
It's awesome. And past anything but a gas station, but my dad, he's, like I said, always been into cars. So we just kind of grew that as a kind of side thing. Truth be told, something to give my dad something to do, kind of give him something to focus on, other than work. And now that
because he's retired like 4 times, right? I mean, he's like,
okay, yeah. So I mean, you know how it goes. Yeah, he's he's kind of like, all right, you got it, and then kind of gets bored and is like, well, let me, so kind of he's out and he's in, he's out and he's in, like Al Pacino and Godfather.
I get it. I can love it.
But yeah, so now he's kind of messing around with this a little bit more and more. I think right now, I don't know the exact number. I think it's got like 8 or 9 cars. It's called LaSorsa Classic Cars is what we have here in Eastern North Carolina. And so just, building them up, selling them, putting them in auctions, just to fund itself. I mean, it's not like a whole business model or anything. It's basically just to fund itself. So we're not like losing money.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would. So my son, as a lot of people know, he's Michael II, and he, spent 5 years in the Marine Corps, and now he's finishing up his associates in DC. He's moving back in August to start his bachelor's program in business. And I always wanted to do something like that with my father. We used to talk about it. He owned a custom Corvette shop back in the 60s. In Yorba Linda or Corona or somewhere in Southern California. And we always wanted to do that. But unfortunately, he passed in 97 at the age of 57. So there's a lot of things we wanted to do. I would love to do that with my son because, you know, wrenching on an old car and taking something that you know has true potential, but is kind of ugly and making it beautiful and that is an accomplishment. As men, we like to do stuff with our hands like that and turn this into that. I would love to do something like that with my son. I don't ever imagine having enough time to do something like that, but I'm hoping with his help, you know, if we divide and conquer, we'll both have a little bit of time. But I think that's really cool. Now tell me about the Corvettes you have.
So he's got a awesome 66. I just drove that this last Sunday. I went over to their house for dinner. We celebrated Easter early because my family were all going to be out for Easter. So we went over to my parents' house and celebrated Easter and took his new 66 out. It's a beautiful thing. White, classic 66, you know, Corvette. He's got a, I want to say it's a 1980 Corvette. He's got a mid-90s ZR1, which has like 58 miles on it.
Oh, wow.
And he's got a new one as well, which is, those are just
the C8.
Insane. You know,
the C8. Now you've driven them, so you know the difference between the mid-engine C8 and all of the other Cs. What a freaking difference I've got a 22 C8 and it was a completely different experience getting in and starting that thing up and driving.
Yeah, much more like a Ferrari if you kind of squint, you know, than when you're in it and you feel it and you drive it. I mean, it's just awesome. But it still has that you know, more like rugged feel than a Ferrari does, which I actually like. Yeah, that you can actually have fun with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, now let me share my thoughts on that statement, because I just picked up a Ferrari California HS30, and there's only 300 of them made, and it's 10 years old, but at 8,000 miles on it. And I had never, except to park one as a valet when I was like 17 or 18, whenever it was. I had never really driven a Ferrari, like actually driven it. And I got in that thing, and it was a dramatic difference between a Corvette and the Ferrari, which I was unfamiliar with. But they're two very different machines. They're both incredibly fun. But here's the thing that sucks about, like, my car brand new was like $250,000, and it doesn't even have cruise control. There's one cup holder that's big enough for one can of pop. I mean, I'm like, okay, you don't get any frills. Meanwhile, my C8 had heated steering wheel and every bell and whistle you could possibly want, right? So they're very differently engineered vehicles, but they both have their beauties and their strengths and their allures that are separate and different, but still very exciting.
Yeah, my thing is I want to be able to enjoy it, you know? So like that's why my 69 Chevelle it's not the nicest car out there. I mean, like it's not. It's got dents and scratches and everything else. But I mean, I'll rip that thing up and down the block, you know?
Yeah.
My dad's got a 70 Chevelle that we're going to auction out with 160 reserve on it. I mean, so that thing's going to go for 170, 180,000. Wow. So when I drive that thing, I'm like 10 and 2 blinker, you know, like nice and easy. I'm like, you know, it's too nice to enjoy if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know? So I mean, I just like the fact that the Corvettes still maintain that. It still has that feel. Like you can just get in it, rip it, and you can drive it every day. Like you said, it's got the heated steering wheel, the AC. I mean, it's got all that stuff. So it's awesome.
Yeah. They're amazing vehicles. Yeah. So what's coming up, Joe? We got we got about a minute left. What's coming up with Joe and you guys, and what you're doing, the family, what's happening?
Yeah, so we're gonna have an awesome summer. So we got a lot of work going on. I'll be out in May to California. I'll hopefully see you. I'll be in San Diego for an event, but hopefully I'll see you then too. I'll try to make it stop by.
Well, I'm an hour from there. So why don't you stop in and we'll go up to my studio and we'll do a nice long podcast and really dig into things.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Yeah,
that would be great. That would be great. Yeah, I'm super close to San Diego, about an hour from there. Are you going to be in Vegas next month or whenever it was for ISC West or the EP Mixer?
Yeah, I'm going to pop in just for about a day or so, but I'll pop in. So if you're going to be there, I'll see you there too. Yeah.
I will definitely be. I'm going to come out the night of, like, I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday, spend a day at ISC West, checking things out. And then we've got the EP Mixer. I don't know where it is, but we got the EP Mixer that night. So I hope everybody will come out to the EP Mixer in Vegas. I can't remember the date, but it's like in 3 weeks or something, right? It's coming up pretty close. In the meantime, Joe, I appreciate getting to know you more one-on-one. I hope we can spend some more time together like this. Of course, I wish you tremendous success in all of your businesses. And I will look. Is there anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
No, I think we'll just save that for next time. It's good stuff.
Awesome. I like it. Well, I look forward to seeing you in 2 or 3 weeks, whenever the Vegas thing is. And thank you for being on today, buddy. And I look forward to seeing you soon. All right. Take care, brother.